My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Insidious Chapter 2. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But I was not allowed to watch scary movies growing up, so whenever I saw one in theaters, I had to lie about it. And I remember seeing this movie in September 2013, but I told my parents I was going to go see Man of Steel, but it was terribly planned because Man of Steel ended an hour before this movie did, so I got picked up way before this movie ended. So the first time I ever saw this movie, I only saw the first half. But I love this movie. I really do. It doesn't seem to be well received. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 38% from the critics and a 57% from the audience. But I don't care. I think this movie is fantastic. So let's begin by talking about the cast. And Patrick Wilson is fantastic in this movie. He is the standout of this sequel because he has to play two very different versions of this character. He plays the Josh we know from the first movie, and he does a good job at that, but he also has to play Josh possessed by Parker Crane. And I think he's menacing, he's scary, but he's also very over the top, and his performance is a lot more campier, and I just thought he fully delivered. A really memorable performance from him. Warsborn, I think, continues to do a great job. She just sells you on the dramatic rate of everything going on so incredibly well. Lin Shaye isn't in this movie as much, but I still thought she did a really good job. Ty Simpkins, I think, does a good job. Barbara Hershey is in this movie a lot more, and I just think she does a very good job. I just like her presence in these movies. Steve Corto plays a new character named Carl, and I thought he did a really good job. He's good at his job, but he's not as good as Elise, and I kind of like how you can tell he's not as confident as he should be. Lee Winnell and Angus Sampson, I think, do a very good job as the comedic relief characters. So the entire cast knew what kind of movie this was and just delivered in all the ways they needed to. But is this movie scary? Yes, very much so. It's not as scary as the first movie, but I would still consider this movie to be terrifying. Like, it is a difficult movie to watch by yourself in the middle of the night. The opening scene where Elise visits a young Josh and they play a game of hot or cold, and Elise gets closer and closer to the bride in black, and you can't see him, but you can feel his presence, and he just feels so evil. And when he scrapes Elise's arm, oh my god, that scene scares the shit out of me. I do like how the opening credits show you what happened in the previous movie, just as a nice reminder. And there's just plenty of creepy moments as Parker Crane's mother walks around the house, baby toys are getting kicked around, the piano is getting played. It's just this constant feel. And once again, there's nothing the characters can really do, so you just feel helpless throughout. But the scariest scene in this movie, I think, is when Renee is walking through the house and you can see Parker's mom in the far corner, and she goes into that room and Parker's mom suddenly appears and she just sings, "Roll, roll, roll your boat gently down the stream," and then that song carries over into the baby monitor, and that scene is scary enough right there. But then Renee can't get into the baby's room and you hear the mom smacking this baby. And I'm just like, holy shit, I feel sick to my stomach. Like, that is such a horrific idea of this baby getting abused by a ghost like that. And then Renee goes downstairs and she looks for her and, "Don't you dare!" Oh my god. Such a fantastic jump scare. It really is. I like how this movie constantly plays around with Dalton's tin can phone. It's really well set up, and the one scene, well, it's paid off and you see the one ghost who's trying to scream but you can only hear it through the cans is so effective. I also like how this movie uses Cause dice as a constant means of suspense. That's a nice tool. And when Carl and Specs and Tucker and Lorraine are checking out the hospital and Parker's house, there's just this constant atmosphere, this constant sense of dread. And I like how this movie relies more on disturbing imagery, like that one room filled with bodies. Like, it's actually a really sadistic movie at times, and I love that. And I think the ending where Josh is chasing his family is really intense. And yeah, this movie does get under my skin. It's got plenty of atmosphere, tension, disturbing imagery, and yeah, it's one of those movies that just stays in my mind. It really does. So James Wan's direction is just top notch. Like, this guy is the best horror director of all time, and nobody crafts a scale quite like him. He just understands tension and setup and payoff so perfectly, and his movies are just loaded with atmosphere, and he is just such a great talent. I love the sets used in this movie. Renee's house, once again, is well established, like the houses in the first movie, so you know the layout, so when things escalate, you can keep track of everything going on. And I also like how the stairwell has that one red window that shines this red light constantly. It's just very pleasing on an aesthetic level. I like how Elise's house feels like Elise's house. It's just filled with her personality. The Our Lady of Angels Hospital is so creepy and so atmospheric, and it feels like I'm playing a creepy video game. And then Parker Crane's house is also very creepy. So every location here just fully works. The movie is beautifully shot by John R. Leonetti. The camera movements are so interesting. the movie always has some space that feels like anything could be occupying it at any times. Like this movie just feels like an evil presence is there constantly. And it adds to the experience. I think the sound is once again great. It is so well utilized in so many different moments, and the sound mixing is just a masterclass, if you ask me. The score by Joseph Bishira isn't as good and as fresh as the score to the first movie, and it might not be as overbearing, but I still thought it added so much to this movie. But I also love how this movie, as scary as it is, doubles down on all the sillier aspects. Like, this movie is dumber, it's goofier, and it's campier than the original movie, and I love that. Like, there are some scenes that actually make me laugh out loud here. Like, when Specs and Tucker are in Parker's bedroom, and young Parker is just like, if she sees you, she'll make me kill you. And they'll just like, okay, and then walk out. The one scene where Josh is telling Renee, there's no girls here. And then they hear the piano playing, and Renee's just like, you don't know that song? That's our song. And Josh is like, we're haunted. We need to do something immediately. And he grabs a baseball bat. That scene is actually so funny. The Bill Hunter ninja scene, I think, is amusing. Quesadilla is a funny joke. Like, this movie does make me laugh. Like, 1 second I'll be on edge, just fully creeped out, and then the next I'll be laughing. And I just think James Wan hits that perfect tonal note throughout. And it's just so over the top in the best way possible. There's a scene near the end where Parker Crane's mom throws Elise and Carl out of the bedroom, and just the look of it is so silly, but I love it. I really do. And like, the story to this movie is insane. Like, yes, it's a haunted house story, there's ghost presence, but there's also a Scooby-Doo mystery, there's a little bit of body horror, there's time travel. Like, this movie is so ambitious, and it just fully goes for it, and I love that. Like, the entire idea of this normal guy losing his body to a ghost, so he's trying to haunt his family to warn them, is such a brilliant idea, and I do wish we got a little bit more of that, but it's just golden. It really is. Like, that is a perfect idea that it kind of shocks me. No one came up with it until 2013. And then we get the entire Scooby-Doo mystery where Carl and Lorraine and Specs and Tucker are investigating who the bride in black is, and I just found this to be so entertaining. The mystery is compelling, and when we get the answers, holy shit, is it disturbing. Like, if you really stop and think about it, it is sadistic and terrifying. And I know some people think it over explains everything and it's no longer scary, but I don't mind. Like, what made the bride in black terrifying was his presence and how he looked. And whenever I watch the first movie, he still terrifies me, so I don't think it takes anything away from these movies. I also love how, as Parker spends more time in Josh's body, Josh's body starts to look older and rougher, and his teeth are falling out, and he has some gray hairs. I really love that aspect of this movie. And there's some great makeup design. And I love how the father has no sense of time or space. So there's some really weird time travel elements where it ties into the first movie. And look, is it needed? No. Is it fucking awesome? Yes, I love stuff like that. Like, Back to the Future 2 is a movie I just love. So to get some of those elements here, it's just so unique. It doesn't take away from the first movie. That scene is still terrifying, but to get a different perspective here, it just felt really refreshing to me. It really did. And I also love how this movie starts immediately after the first one. Well, it adds lots of weight to it. Like the first movie ends on a really messed up note, and they go through hell, and then that hell continues into this movie. Like, you just feel bad for this family as they can't catch a break, and I thought it added some nice stakes to everything going on. And I love how the first movie is like a haunted house movie with some astral projection, and I like how this movie offers that, but it also feels completely different at the same time. The two movies are very complementary, and I just think this sequel is fascinating on every level. And I love the way this movie ends. Like that scene with Jenna Ortega and her sister who's in a wheelchair, and then Elise looks up, and I think it's the lipstick face demon, and then the movie ends, is a great ending. I do wish we got a follow-up on that. Well, Elise is investigating this case from the father. That could have been such a cool movie, and I don't know if it can happen now because of the red door. But what else do I want to say? I love the way the girls look in these movies. They feel out of time. They feel creepy and inhuman and scary. I love that scene. Well, Carl is like, what is Josh? What is Parker Crane holding behind his back? That's a really terrific moment. What else? I don't know. I just love this movie. But I do got some issues. Very minor issues. Like I said, I do wish we got more of the real Josh haunting his family. The Lin Shaye dub over the younger actress at the start is a very distracting choice. And the way they defeat Parker Crane is kind of nonsensical. So they go to his memories and they attack his mother there, and that pushes him out of Josh's body. Like, it doesn't bother me too much. I just feel like they could have done something better there. But all that said, I still think this movie is just perfect. I do. I love it. I really do. I think this movie is terrifying, but it's also campy and silly, and it's also unique and creative and ambitious, and I love how there's just so much going on here, and it's bananas, and it's constantly tense and just filled with atmosphere from beginning to end. It's brilliantly directed by James Wan. The cinematography and the sound is top notch. The cast does a really great job, especially Patrick Wilson. This is a movie I have watched so many times, and I just have a blast with it. I love it. I think it's not just one of the best horror sequels ever made. I would say it's one of the best horror movies made, and it might be in my top 100 of all time. I just love it that much, so I'm giving Insidious Chapter 2 a 9 out of 10. It's just so good. It deserves way more love than it receives. But Insidious Chapter 2, have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.